When did you start competing in the half pipe, and how has becoming world number one happened within 4 years?
A lot can happen when you put your mind to it, and you have belief in yourself and a real drive. I always love to set goals, and goals are a really important part of being able to tick off and get closer to the end goals.
What is going through your head when you're going up for those big jumps? Like, what is the voice in your head saying?
Yeah, I try to keep it as positive as I can, and there might be a negative thought in there, but we worked on technique. I am scared maybe, but I know I'm ready to do this. Just reminding myself of the whys is really important part.
Have you ever had a crash or anything that has completely ruined your confidence?
Yeah, unfortunately I actually had one in...
Welcome to 40G. Picture this. You were standing at the top of a half pipe, about to absolutely send it 20 feet in the air. One split second of hesitation and it can go very wrong. Well, my guest today lives that reality. Indra Brown is 16, she's in year 11 and is currently ranked world number one in the women's free ski half pipe World Cup standings. She won her first World Cup at the age of 15, became the youngest Australian selected for the 2026 Winter Olympics, placed 5th in Milan, and just won gold at Junior Worlds. She is Melbourne born, Colorado based, off and on, and she says the hardest part is not the tricks, it's the mental battle. The fear, trust, and full commitment. Well, today we aren't just talking about how good it is to be world number one. We're talking about how she got to be world number one by the age of 16, and the mental battle and resilience, the work ethic and the discipline, and also the sacrifices she had to make in order to achieve that, which often get overlooked in the celebratory storytelling of mainstream media. Before we get into it, if you get value from today's episode, please go and follow 4TG and hit subscribe on all major podcast platforms, including YouTube, so you don't miss these important conversations about why it's so important we keep more girls and women in sport. Indra Brown, welcome to the 4TG podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
I had an absolute field day researching about you, and I was just saying offline that I came across the year that you were born in and almost spat out my tea. Because in 2010 you were born, and that's when I was starting high school. So you make me feel very old, but it's an absolute pleasure to have you here today.
No, thank you for having me.
So tell me, how does it feel going into school knowing that you're the best in the world at something?
I try not to think about that as much when I go into school. I'm just going in there as a regular schoolgirl, getting my subjects done and hanging out with friends. But it is pretty cool to, have the support of my friends and, always pepping me up with some comments and that stuff, which always is nice.
Yeah, I'm sure there'd be a few jealous kids out there. That's for sure. Well, before we get started, and I want to know all about your story and how you got to be world number one by the ripe age of 16, but we'll start with our Snap Fitness rapid fire questions. So I'll ask you 3 questions, and whatever comes to mind first, you shoot with.
All right.
Ready to roll?
Yeah.
All right. Ready. First question. Who is your favourite sporting hero of all time?
Eileen Gill.
Yeah. And that's also a competitor, isn't it?
It is.
Mm-hmm. We'll get to her later.
Yeah.
Number 2, what is the one thing that not many people know about you?
How much the mental side affects me when I'm skiing.
We'll also unpack that one later. That's a good one. And finally, what is one belief that you had to overcome to become world number one?
That age doesn't matter.
I love that. I'm telling myself that from the other spectrum. So that's a very good one to have. So now tell us about your childhood, because as we said, you spent a few years over in Canada. You're living between the US and Australia at the moment. Mm-hmm. So what role did sport play growing up for you?
I think it was a really crucial part. My family was super active. We were going for hikes on the weekends or camping trips, enrolled in sport all throughout the week. So it was a really fundamental part of just, growing up in our family. We always had something we were doing with the family or with other people. So just being able to continue that, I think, it was a normal. It wasn't something extra or added on. It was just a daily activity that we enjoyed to do. So then being able to continue that and compete in a sport at a high level, just not recreationally, it's pretty impressive and fun to do.
So how did skiing and snowboarding and all those things come into your childhood? Were mum and dad skiers and snowboarders themselves?
They were, but not as good as us kids.
Clearly.
We overtook them after a little bit of starting, but we always went on, family ski holidays with my 3 other siblings and parents. So we, just enjoyed riding together. My brothers would push me a lot, and they had the confidence in myself. They gave me the confidence in myself to, push, the limits that they were pushing and follow them, So it was just really amazing to have them there and to be able to ride and hang out and ski with such an amazing, team, of us little family.
So you've got how many brothers?
2 brothers, 1 sister.
Right.
Yeah.
So the real medal is that you're the best out of all of them.
You can say that.
That's your proudest achievement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Excellent. So obviously you've got a lot on your plate because you're doing school, you're training, you're competing, you're traveling nonstop. What does a week in your life look like?
Yeah, I think it's busy, when I'm training. There's lots going on. But it makes it so much easier having such a supportive family team. My siblings and my parents, they sacrifice a lot to be able to make me do what I'm doing. So to have them around me, supporting me, encouraging me, it just makes so much more enjoyable and easier, for my day-to-day life, not to have to worry about the logistical side or any of that other stuff and be able to go out and do what I know what I want to do and what I love to do.
And how are you managing school?
Yes, school, that thing.
that old thing.
No, my school's really supportive, being able to complete my work online when I'm away competing and skiing, and then come in person to get that, in-person interaction, see my friends again, and feel like a normal school kid when I'm back in Melbourne.
Are there any elements of your friends' lives that you almost feel jealous of that you can't just sort of bum around on a weekend and, hang out with your friends all the time?
Yeah, no, I think that does play a part in my life. I'm at 16 years old, so parties and hang out with friends and that stuff does play a big part in growing up as a Melbourne girl and stuff like that. But I have such a great passion and love for what I'm doing, so when I weight the scale, skiing always wins, and it's something that I know I'm doing for the reasons that I love, and that missing a party or missing a dinner with friends isn't the end of the world, and I will always have that, and skiing is the focus right now.
That's a very good attitude to have, and going to parties and dinner with friends, you'll always have that in life, so you're not missing out on much. And I'm sure there's many kids who wish that they were in your position with the same skill that you have. So I'm sure all of that sort of stuff will come. I'm interested now, you did your first half pipe at age 12.
Yeah.
So for context, that is 4 years ago. And in those 4 years, you have become a world number 1. So tell us about your trajectory. When did you start competing in the half pipe, and how has, becoming world number 1 happened within 4 years?
Yeah, well, I think a lot can happen when you put your mind to it, and, you have belief in yourself and a real drive. I always love to set goals, and goals are a really important part of being able to, tick off and get closer to, the end goal. So to have those little ones to really, feel like you're achieving something instead of that just one goal of, say, the Olympics. You've got competitions before that or tricks to learn before that can really boost the confidence and boost your way of going in the sport you're doing.
And what was the trajectory like in terms of how does it work? Do you make a certain squad, a certain team, and then how does the ranking system work?
So for me, age actually did play a role. So to compete in World Cups, you had to be 15 years old. So I wasn't able to compete until the season before the Olympics. That was the first season I was eligible to compete in World Cups. So that played a role. I had to wait and, build my skills up and build my tricks up to be able to compete. And then a point system is required to enter into World Cups. So competing in those lower level competitions, to show that you are ready and have the skill to compete in that, top competition is important and needed.
And then obviously going into the Olympics, an Olympic debut is hard enough for anyone. How did it feel with the added pressure of being world number 1 going into the Olympics? Did you feel that extra sense of expectation?
Yeah, I think just going into the season to start with and then the Olympics, I always had the mindset of just putting the run that I wanted to put down that competition, not the result or where I was going to get ranked. So that mindset of just, if I landed the run that I wanted to land, that was it was an amazing day. The goal was achieved. There was no more expectations placed on me to get the result. So that mindset really allowed me just to focus on my skiing and not what my competitors are doing or how the judges would think of me and that stuff. So, which allowed me just to have so much more fun and know why I'm doing the sport, because it's so much fun and I love it. So that element, I think, going into the Olympics helped so much, just to, have the pride of wearing the green and gold and having all my family back home watching me, and then the family that was at the Olympics watching me, and how incredible that was instead of what the result I need to get.
It's really clear that you are a very process-oriented athlete, as all the best athletes are, whereas a lot of other athletes get so caught up in the outcomes and they tie their whole self-worth and identity to how they're competing and what the results are. But clearly, if you focus on the process and you focus on showing up, be consistent in your training and giving that your best, as you say, that's the medal, right?
Yeah.
The outcome is just a cherry on the top, but some of us can get so focused in on that. Have you had any sort of mindset coaching or anything that sort of led you to have that mindset around process over outcome?
Yeah, I work with, a sports psychologist, which I think is a really crucial part of, as well, balancing the fear side of the sport, but then the expectations that you can put on yourself and that come with it. So that really just helped, to be able to talk to someone about it with expertise, and get that advice that can really help and play a crucial part in what you're doing. So that was really helpful.
Yeah, I think sports psychologists and just mindset training is underrated and untapped because, they say around 90% of performance is mental, and especially with something like what you're doing, because, let's call a spade a spade. You're up 20 feet in the air. If you do something wrong, it's got to be pretty grave, consequences. Yeah. Have you ever had a crash or anything that has completely, ruined your confidence?
Yeah, unfortunately, I actually had one in my World Cup season, which played a big part of learning tricks before the Olympics. So in the Copper World Cup, I took a, fall. I didn't hurt myself or any injuries that came out of it, but the mental side took a big impact. That trick I wasn't able to attempt and do on snow until 2 months later, a week before the Olympics, because of how much mental strength and ability it took me to really get past the fear and past those negative thoughts and overcome it, to show that I can do this. I know how to do it. I'm ready to do it. It's just the mind is, thinks I'm not.
So tell us, what are a few of the tricks that you tried to overcome that fear?
The one that I crashed on was the alley road 5. And that one was one that I'd been dealing with a little bit during the start of the season, just on and off. The fear part played a bit of whether I'd land it, whether I wouldn't, and the confidence I had in myself. So to be able to do it the week before the Olympics, I did it 20 times after I landed that first, to just keep reminding myself, I know how to do this, I know how to do this, this is something that I don't need to be scared of. And then the cork 10, which is the hardest trick in my run. So it definitely took a lot of that mental strength to know, even though it's a really hard trick that not many girls are doing, I've prepared myself and I've trained really hard to be able to do the trick, and just letting myself do it is the hardest part.
So it sounds like a lot of the confidence really comes from within, and it comes from that process and consistency, and, you've put in the work, and that's how you get there. What is going through your head when you're going up for those big jumps? What is the voice in your head saying?
Yeah, I try to keep it as positive as I can, and there might be a negative thought in there, but as I said, with my sports psychologist, we worked on techniques and we worked on ways to let that negative thought be there. It's not going to impact you in any way, and being I am scared maybe, but I know I'm ready to do this. I know that it's going to be scary, but I'm going to land it. I've prepared myself to do this, and I want to do this. This is why I'm here. I'm not doing it out of resistance. So just reminding myself of the whys is a really important part.
And have you done a lot of visualization as well? Lots of visualization training?
Yeah, visualization can play a really important part of, the sport. If I can see it in my head, I know I can do it. And being able to just see those fine twitch, precise movements, you can really, what you see you can do, and what you can see you can feel, and just knowing that run, before the Olympics, I think I visualized my Olympic run hundreds of times, just to what the crowd would be doing or what I'd be doing at the start, my breathing techniques, every moment of it, so that when I got into that when I was there, I was ready and I knew exactly what I was going to do.
It's interesting. I speak to a lot of athletes about the power of embodiment, right? And it's all about, you don't need to wait for the evidence to start being the evidence, right? So if there's a crime that happens, the police don't turn up the day before and say, we're here to collect the evidence. You have to actually be the evidence, and then that's where the evidence sort of falls into place. So I say to a lot of the, athletes that I work with too, is that if you want to be a elite snowboarder or an elite AFLW player, you need to start acting like them. You need to start thinking like them. You need to start speaking like them, showing up like them, eating like them. And then by default, you will become them. You don't wait to become the world best to start acting like it, right? So it sounds like that's exactly what you've been doing.
Yeah, no, to have the mindset of, I belong here. I'm ready to do these tricks. I'm ready to land these runs because I've prepared so much in advance that this is where I'm meant to be. There's no doubt in your mind that you don't belong here. So it's just believing that and powering it through what you do.
Has there ever been times in your career where you've lost the love for it a little bit?
Yeah, I think there was a time, after my year of getting in the half pipe where the fear came in a lot more and I wasn't able to control it as much. And it took away from the love because instead of being excited to do these tricks and excited to get on skis, I was fearful and scared. So I think that time really impacted me, but getting through that was, I think, one of the most important parts of my skiing career as of right now. It proved to myself that I can overcome anything, whether it's mental or physical, and it's really played an impactful part of, who I am now, because I know that even with the doubts and even with this fear, I'm still such an amazing athlete, and I've learned to push through those moments, and I've achieved so much after it. So there's, the sky's the limits.
Absolutely. And they say that the body achieves what the mind believes, and the mind is such a powerful tool. And that's why I'm a massive proponent that I think we need to be training the mind more. As I said earlier, it's 90% performance is mental. So I don't understand why we go and do extra sets in the gym, but we won't go and do extra visualization or meditation, whatever it takes. So I think that's a very important key takeaway to the audience, is that more focus on the mental as opposed to just the physical. So tell me now, as we said, there are a lot of sacrifices that come with being an elite athlete. What, besides, missing out on birthdays and friends and things like that, what does it really take to get to the top?
Yeah, it takes a lot of sacrifice, not just for me, but, my family, my parents. They've sacrificed so much to be able to let me achieve this dream of mine and let me pursue it, and my siblings as well. I have a sister in year 12, and having her mom traveling for 9 months of the year isn't, the most ideal thing, but being able to, how supportive they are of me and how much they believe in me, and, they wouldn't have it any other way. They are so proud of me and that stuff. So it really helps to have that team behind the team, almost, just to know that you're ready to do this and they support you for everything you're doing.
I like that. It takes a village, hey?
Yeah, it does.
Yep. So the other factor is that you're only 16 and you're the world number one now. That must have a lot of weight to hold, because as they say, the hardest thing isn't becoming the best, it's staying the best. Do you feel that there's a whole weight of expectation on you to continue being the best, and how are you navigating that?
Yeah, as of right now, I just want to keep skiing, keep doing what I'm doing and enjoying it, and not thinking about the numbers or the results. I'm still considering myself the hunter. I still want to become even better than I am, and I still want to beat other athletes and get more results and that stuff. So almost having the mindset of, I haven't had that moment yet. I haven't, hit my peak yet. So there's still so much more for me to do before I'm at that, next level.
And tell us about your coaching. Do you have the one coach at the moment, or have you got a few coaches wherever you go?
Yeah, I've usually just got the one with me to have that, support and that connection. He's been with me for quite some time now, and he knows me. He knows how I work, what skills I have, how my mental side works and all that stuff. So to have that person there that's, confident in you, that knows, he wouldn't let me do something if he didn't know I was ready to do it and I was going to land it. So to have that side of, if he says I'm ready to do this trick, I know I'm ready to do this trick. He's prepared me for it, and he believes in me.
How much of a role do you think a good coach has for an athlete?
Oh, it can be incredible, to have that connection and then that side of coaching, in a sport that like this, it's an extreme sport. There's so precise things that you have to do, and have that coach that really knows those techniques and knows you inside out almost can be so important, whether it's during training or during competition or even just off the snow and the things that you have to do.
For any coaches that are listening to this now, what advice would you give to coaches and how they speak to their athletes?
My coach always uses the analogy a feedback sandwich. So instead of, just going into what they did wrong or, what you need to fix this straight away, that was an amazing takeoff. But if we did this, it would be even better, like to give that positive feedback, to be like, okay, so I am doing really good, I'm improving. And if I do this, I'll be even better to make it like even better, you know what I mean? So instead of just going straight to the point of you need to fix this, otherwise it's not good, reassuring the athlete that they're doing amazing and they're, getting there. It's just if you fix this, it'll be even better.
I think a few coaches could learn a lot from that, because the words that coaches use are so emotionally loaded, and those words can stick with someone for years to come, not just in sport, but in everyday sort of confidence and how they show up. And, I've had coaches myself who has really shaken my confidence, and it does take a large impact. So especially coaches who are coaching the younger generation, that they just have to be so mindful that they are more than a coach. They're someone that these kids and young women, young boys look up to, and they play a huge role. So that's why it's so important to be person first and put the person's needs above the athlete, because at the end of the day, we're people. We can't be 100% every single day.
Exactly.
And the better the person, the better the athlete. I'm a huge believer of. And clearly your coach has gotten it right.
Yes. No, he's amazing.
That's good. So tell us, what's to come next? What are you working towards? And what's your ultimate goal if you could, wish upon it tomorrow? Where would you be and what would you be doing?
Yeah, so I obviously have another 4-year goal of the Olympics, and to compete in all three disciplines, represent Australia, wear the green and gold for all three. And I think this Olympics, it took a bit out of me not to be able to do all three. I want to represent Australia as much as I can, and to wear that with pride in 3 events would be amazing. But obviously, one event is already so much. So to not load myself with three events, it's a marathon, not a sprint. I have a long career ahead of me. So to be able to just dial in one and add one, maybe each season or after, I really feel I'm ready, so that I'm not overloading myself and then I'm too stressed because I've got so much on my plate. So yeah, to be able to build and grow in the 3 disciplines, because I love all 3 and I have such a huge passion for them, and then to see what I can achieve within them.
And I'm also interested to know, who is Indra when there is no snow sport involved? Because obviously we speak a lot about athletes end up tying their whole identity to that one aspect, that they are their sport. And sometimes if that ends or, they have a break from it, they don't know who they are. So who are you if there's no sport or snow involved?
I'd like to say I'm a bubbly, funny, creative 16-year-old girl that just loves to hang out with friends, go on adventures with family, just hang out with, my siblings, my parents. I love a good just simple dinner at home, sitting around the dining room table, with a home-cooked meal. Just the simplicity of being with your family and doing things you love. It's amazing.
What's your favourite home-cooked meal?
Mum makes pretty mean burritos, I must
Oh,
say.
can't beat a good Mexican feed.
Oh, yeah.
No, that is a very good way to go. And when you're travelling and competing, how do you sort of find that balance?
Yeah, I think being able to have my mum on the road with me helps so much. It's not just me there. She's sacrificing a lot. So then to know she, everything I do, it's for everyone else. That's helped me so much. And, she's been such a fundamental part of helping me achieve my goals. So to have her there, a little part of the family along with me, really helps to keep me grounded and keep me, having that why of why I do it.
That's a very good way to go, and I like that you're thanking your mum, because lots of athletes your age probably don't even consider their parents. I was probably one of them, and now I just think how much my parents gave up for me. So eternally grateful for them. If we look right into the future, right, you're going to have a very long and decorated career. I know it. I can feel it. But what do you think you'd like to do post-competing?
Yeah, I think I've always been so intrigued with working with athletes, that side of the team behind the team and how important it can be, and to be a successful athlete and to have those supports all around you. So something, working with other elite athletes and to see their journey and how, maybe it's a different sport from skiing or not even in the snow sports community and that stuff, but just to see the elements that it takes to be an elite athlete no matter the discipline.
I think the high performance element is so fascinating, and it'll be interesting that, you could probably take those skills and translate those into a corporate workspace and many other areas. So that's the best thing about sport is all the transferable skills that you learn and the network that you have. You'll be set up for life. So it's always good to think about, post sport, what's going to be out there as well.
Always.
Now, this next question I usually ask guests, what would you go back and tell your 16-year-old self? But you are, in fact, 16. So how about we take it back even further?
Yeah.
And let's say, what would you go back and tell your 12-year-old self when you just had started halfpipe?
That, the sky's your limits, to dream as big as you want because anything is possible if you just set your mind to it.
Oh, that's a clip-worthy moment, that one. Beautiful. And then if we speak more broadly, in your opinion, why is it so important that we keep more girls and women in sport?
I think it's such a huge part of it. Me as a 16-year-old going into, the World Cup season and seeing how many little women there are compared to men and how it's such a tight-knit family, but it's such an incredible one, the camaraderie and the friendships that you can make from just doing a sport with other people is so amazing. Like, I've made probably lifelong friends from competing all over the world. So to be able to have that and have that connection with other female athletes, older, younger, no matter the age, it's such an important part, and it's, it can give you so many opportunities in life. You meet new people and it gives you such a new perspective. You're not just, doing schoolwork, you're just hanging at home, you have that other, connection in life to go out and do.
And for the listener at home now who might be around 11 or 12, let's say she's into snowboarding or something in the snow sports element, what would you tell her if she was at that sort of age where she's thinking of dropping out because there's not enough resources, funding or opportunities for her? What would you look her in the eye and tell her?
Just to keep going, It might seem scary at the start or lonely. There might not be many people doing it, but if you truly have the passion for it and the love for it, to keep doing it because you can exceed as something that you love and you can excel so much in it if you just believe in yourself. So not let what other people think of you and get that to distract you and that stuff. So just keep doing what you enjoy and it can really take you anywhere.
Well, Indra, I am absolutely blown away. You were the youngest guest I've had and probably one of the wisest. So
Thank you.
A lot of great things ahead of you for sure. And I personally can't wait to see all the things that you achieve as an athlete and as a person. So keep up the great work and inspiring many other young girls and boys out there.
Oh, thank you so much. It means a lot to have you on there.
It's been brilliant having you. And as we said at the start of the episode, if you got value out of today, which I know you have, I have gotten plenty. I can't wait to go back and re-listen to this. But please like and subscribe to 4TG and leave us a 5-star review. This episode was brought to you today by Project Better and Blue Chip Talent Management. Thank you all very much, and we'll see you all next week.